Hey everybody, this is the Jay Young Show. We've had a lot of great episodes, but I tell you what, I'm really excited about this episode because I don't think I've ever known anybody that's actually come out and said, I'm going to run for president. But I tell you what, a good friend of mine, Ryan Binkley, I've known his family for a long time, dad and mom, and just a great, incredible family. I mean, your dad's been on how many mission trips?
75 nations.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Hundreds of mission trips.
Hundreds of mission. I read his book.
Yeah.
2 years ago, and I was like, I opened it up and it said mission. I was like, I got to know more about this guy. This guy's unbelievable, man. This is just really great. I know where your heart comes from is because of your dad, and I mean, just an incredible family. But this is the Jay Young Show. Thank you for coming. Ryan Binkley is running for president. I've never been able to say that on the Jay Young Show, and I've never had a guy that's has the accomplishments that you do, that has such a passion. I mean, a passion about our country and about our Americans and about every kid. Man, I mean, not only is Ryan, and I knew you from, our kids went to school together. That's how we met, and we're in the same neighborhood. But, you know, family of five kids.
5 kids.
They're from 13 to 23 years old, right? Ellie, your beautiful wife. Oh my goodness, man! You were married for 24 years. That's a great accomplishment.
25.
25
Last month. We just celebrated.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Silver. Let's see, good old silver.
That's us.
Well, man, I need to congratulate her twice as much, but you know how that is. But also, I mean, that's before you talk about it. And I mean, and this guy's not just sitting around going, "Hey, I've got a business and I've got a church. I've got all these other things going on." You are living it with your kids. You don't miss much. I know you don't miss much with your kids because that's a huge priority for you. But businessman, how many employees is
about 350?
Oh my goodness, 350 employees, and you also decided, oh my goodness, hey, let's just start a church. So you started a church, and you're the head pastor. Not only. I thought at first, okay, well, him and his dad are, they have a passion and they're going. No, you're the head guy, head cheese, father, and now you decide, man, I was going to run for president. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that just think, hey, what's the big rainbow, or what's the big pot of gold, or what's it about that gave you this calling a few years ago? Just talk.
Well, thanks.
Start off with that.
Well, this is something I've been on for probably about 8 years. So, as people get to know me a little bit, we have mergers and acquisitions. Finance is my background. We help business owners sell their business. We just celebrated our 1,500th merger this past week. We've helped 1,500 companies merge with other companies in the last 18 years. And so, God's blessed us in being able to do that. I've been on this journey of seeing the economy for 20 years now, wondering why is our country doing what it's doing? And I used to wonder, God, I've not had a passion for politics. I mean, I'm not a politician. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to pursue that, I would have done it 20 years ago.
We never talked about that.
It's never been, but I've had dreams about the problems in our country. And I've seen them like in my mind, in my heart, about where we're headed. And I used to wonder, how come great business leaders don't run? I used to think of Jamie Dimon. Why did that guy run? He's smart. And why come we're not? None of the smart guys are running. And then about 8 years ago, I had a dream that I ran. And so I first discounted it, Jay, like, that's just pizza dream. What was that, God? I'm not. And then about 6 months later, there was another one. And then over the years, different messages about our country started coming to me about the problems, the economy, the inflation. Where its true resides is because of our deficit spending. And I know this because of monetary policy. I can see it and how it's really created this wealth gap. And then I see the division. I'm a pastor also. So our church is Create Church. We're a multicultural church. We started it 10 years ago. It's in Richardson. We got people from all backgrounds. I mean, I've got people from, I don't even know how many different nations there. Wow. Very multicultural. And not everybody is a Republican. This is news for a lot of Republicans. There's a lot of Christians out there that don't vote Republican. And they tell me, Ryan, if the Republican Party had a message for the immigrant, had a message for the poor, they're not far left-wing, far woke agenda Democrats. See, they're just like, the Republican Party doesn't have a clear message for the legal immigration system. I got people from Zimbabwe, Nigeria. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're citizens here. Right. But it took them 20 years to become one. They're like, should it be this hard? Is there any way you could think about my family? And if we don't start addressing the needs of the multicultural electorate that's in America, we will keep doing what we've been doing as Republicans, losing big cities because they live in big cities. The fastest growing segments of our country are big cities. We're in a red state. We're in Texas. We lost Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin. For the first time in 65 years, the Republican Party lost Fort Worth. That was the conservative part of North Texas. Now it's gone to the Democratic Party. Why? We're not getting college students to vote for us. We're not getting the multicultural electorate to connect with us. And I'm seeing the disparity between the lower income, the middle income America. We're not connecting them. So I've got this passion in my heart to help make our country work for everyone. How can it work for everyone? Well, there's a way. There's actually a way that everyone can prosper. And I've had this passion in my mind. So I decided to run for office. And I'm sharing the story about how we can get there. I'm not against President Trump, by the way, whoever wants to know. A lot of people say, what is it about? Listen, I would help him if he wanted my help. I support him in both elections. I'm not running because I don't like him at all. I'm running because this message is burning in my heart that we've got to see a few things differently. And it's unifying our country in the debt and deficit. So we can start from there. But
wow. So it's not really that you're saying, hey, I want to beat these guys out. And it's not a competition. It's more of a passion. There's a lot of people out there that are suffering.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to be clear, I want to win. I see though now the problem and the challenges of that. That's difficult to do. I'm not saying it's impossible. God can do all things. And if he's called me to this, either it's going to be now or down the road, or I missed hearing the message right, or I'm called to make a difference some way significant that way. But I really have put a lot in this. So I've been to over 200 town halls. I've visited Iowa hundreds of times. I mean, I've been all over Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and we're doing meetings all over. I'm going to South Carolina for the next couple of days. I'm going to be there every day next week, getting ready for that. And I don't have, we're primarily self-funded, Jay. I've done a lot of this my own. We have 82,000 donors, but a lot of them are small dollar donors. So if people want to hear this message, it's taking a moment where I'm putting everything I have personally, that's liquid to almost everything to go in this, because I believe something's at stake in our country. And what I think's at stake is this, that we have hit a cultural divide it's close to Lincoln's warnings to us, where he said this to us, that if America is ever going to be destroyed or danger would come our way, it would come from within, not abroad. Meaning it's not going to be Russia or China that does the United States of America in. It's ourselves. And now I want you to think about, everybody to think about, what is the possibility of legislation with the next president or in the President Biden this year? Can he pass anything at all? No. And the answer is no. So the president today passed 350 executive orders, which used to not be the thing. But now this is all they do, is try to expand the powers of the presidency, because it's the goal of every party to see the other party fail rather than to see America succeed. So we killed the border deal. But did we come back with the 3 key points that Republicans would accept on the border deal? Absolutely not. Why? Because it's a campaign issue. So I'm not saying we should have accepted that deal. What I'm saying is we should come up, what is the 3 things we care for, and let's put that on the table and let's fight for it and let's go negotiate and get it. We don't have these moments like Reagan and Tip O'Neill used to have back in the 80s, where they would fight, they would argue, then they'd work together and get something done. We better get back to that. Right. And then my passion is this inflation for the average worker of America, where they're renting. I'm talking about the people in the middle income and below. I've been all over. They're suffering, Jay. And they are suffering because rents are 30 and 40% higher than they were 2 years ago. We have a 12% rise in homelessness this year than last year. Wow. The stock market's an all-time high, but we have a 12% rise in homelessness. That's because people on the bubble could not afford their rent increases and they got evicted. This is the wealth gap that I'm talking about. So I'm going after these 2 issues. We can no longer have the debt, the deficit, and the division. And if we can fix these things, we can get our country back. We can have a heart of our country back, which so many young people they're not proud to say they're American anymore. When's the last time you heard a college student go, I'm proud to be an American?
That's true.
So this is what I'm fighting for.
Yeah. What do you think is the best way to get your message out there? What's the best way for you to win?
Thank you for having me. I've been a grassroots candidate for all along. And, a lot of guys got media from saying crazy statements. The more outlandish and crazy it is, or the more hateful they are towards Trump or Biden or somebody.
George Bush and his taxes.
I'm just not that way. I'm a bit of a Reagan-esque in that, like, hey, let's not talk evil of another Republican. I mean, they have well meanings. I don't even talk evil of Democrats, even though I could. I just don't. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to send a message that we better start seeing, like, if we have a lot of business owners on this podcast, we've all got staff, we've got employees, some make more money than others. Are we seeing the people that are making less than 40 and 50 grand a year? Who are they? Do we know how their lives are? Are we talking to them? How are they making it today? We're having real conversations because margins are tighter in our business right now. But yet I'm concerned about a lot of staff workers that are there and they're working hard. And, they're not high commission people. They make, salaries, and it's tougher for them.
Yeah.
And I need to be in their lives more. And I need to figure out how can I give them a raise when margins are tighter? Because everything's gone up. Travel's gone up. Expenses have gone up. Everything's higher. So we better start paying attention to it. So as a leader and someone running for president, I'm trying to highlight this issue. I've got a solution to stop inflation. And the only way you can stop it is to cut deficit spending. The only way to cut deficit spending in America, which is $2 trillion a year, we are $34 trillion in debt. Jay, this is my fear. That you and I, we're probably about the same age. We are going to pass off our kids $50, $60 trillion in debt in the next 10 years and go, well, good luck. I'm going to the lake. And you know what? With no mechanism or means, and the only way they're going to get out of it is to debase the currency and to continue to debase it at higher levels, meaning that, the dollars today, so they're not worth what they used to be. So
Dollar worth zero.
So wage inflation keeps up with regular inflation by about 50%.
But how do you get out of debt? I mean, how do we get out, or how is there ever going to be a way?
I got a way.
Yeah.
And it's not going after them. Republicans have always said, well, we got to get everybody off welfare. And listen, there are some welfare issues that we have to issue, and I have a way of addressing that too, through education, through job training and vocational trades in high school. Not everybody's supposed to go to college. So we're going to give them the opportunity to learn to work again. When you and I were growing up, there was shop, there was classes, and there's so many things now people can do with technical trades and medical fields, technology, computers. You don't have to go to a 4-year degree, come out with $200,000 in debt to know how to program.
Right. You
don't. And you don't have to do that to work on an AC and repair and plumbing. And you can make good money doing that, by the way. We need these jobs today. But the bigger issue is this, is that how can I communicate to you this, that the biggest expense in our country is healthcare. So to figure out, we are twice as expensive as the top 10 wealthiest nations in the world. You average what they spend on healthcare per person, we spend twice that.
Wow.
We're not even the top 20 in efficiency, meaning the doctors are providing tests for us that don't relate to our patient outcomes, meaning they're revenue generators for hospitals now. Big Pharma, we spend 3 times as much on pharmaceutical drugs as any other nation in the world.
Yeah.
Canada up the road, they're wealthy there. I mean, not far from us. They pay 28 cents on the dollar for the same drugs we do.
Wow.
And you know what they do? The Big Pharma, we give them patent extensions that no other nation does. Their lobbyists give our politicians money, and we let the cycle continue on. You pay for my campaign, I'll take care of you. And meanwhile, the drugs, then the patients pay for it. Meanwhile, health insurance costs $31,000 a year for a family of 4 on a high deductible plan. So I'm running saying this, I'm going to break up the monopolies of healthcare. I'm going to make it price visible. So when you go to the doctor, you know what it costs. We've been trained that we're either too dumb or it's too complicated for us to know what things cost, because we just give them our card. Then we find out 90 days later, how much does it cost for us to go there? So this is what I'm thinking of, a totally Republican-led healthcare transformation that demonopolizes it from Big Pharma, the pharmacy benefit managers, the health insurance providers themselves. And we've got waste in the system. And we have a whole plan on this. Jay, we can start saving 5 and 10% of our country a year. We can balance the budget in 7 years. I can put a tourniquet on this thing. We can get inflation down the right way, save the U.S. dollar.
Wow, that's incredible.
We can do it.
Yeah, I was listening to President Bush and President Clinton at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and President Bush said, "Well, Clinton, I think you're the last one that balanced the budget. I mean,
he was
actually spent less than he made. I mean, it's like."
One time in 30 years. Yeah. That's where we've got. Right. So we've got an addiction to debt spending.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're buying votes, Jay, is what we're doing. So politicians are trying to buy college students' votes. Joe Biden's trying to do it. Let me pay off all your college tuition. And by the way, please vote for me come election time.
Golly.
So that's the pattern we're in.
Yeah.
That's the pattern we're in.
Yeah. They also said that both of them were they were both older than, they were younger than Biden and Trump put together.
They are.
So then those guys, Clinton doesn't look, he looks old. I haven't seen Clinton in a long time. So I guess when you haven't seen anybody in like 10 years, or something, and you see him, you're like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, man.
Well, he may not dye his hair as much as some of the other guys.
Yeah,
Not for sure. But the bottom line is this: is that it is an older generation trying to lead something. My concern is we're doing it old ways.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to tackle a problem when the only ways that the leaders of our parties know right now is just divisiveness of, the rhetoric of leadership today. If we don't start to transcend our parties and start to lead to where Americans win, and it's going to take a bipartisan plan for the border, or you're not going to have a permanent one.
Good.
President Trump, myself, any candidate could put military on the border. We could stop the border flow. Fine. But what's going to be like 5 years from now? What's going to be, as soon as the Democrats in, they're going to tear a wall down. If we don't do something in law, which is going to take Congress, which is going to take money, and do it in a bipartisan way, there's not going to be anything permanent. So we're going to be dealing with this thing year after year, which we've done for 50 years now. So my vision is let's quit this. Let's do something together. Let's get it done. And we can do that. All you have to do is provide worker registration for some of these 20 million people that are here. Mm-hmm. We're not going to get rid of 20 million people here. President Trump, I love him, but he's saying, hey, we're going to have the greatest deportation experience ever. And a lot of Republicans are like, yeah, and okay, fine, let's deport. But how many? You're going to do 20 million?
Yeah.
No, you're not. Yeah. Because you're going to get rid of 2% of GDP, and then we're going to have a recession like we've never seen, and no food by Friday. And by the way, your home's going to take 4 years instead of 2 years to get built. We're not going to do that. Right. So let's don't be dishonest with Americans. Let's be honest with them. Now, some people will need to go. But if they've been here a long time, many of them own businesses and houses now. I mean, I've been all over America. We've got a lot of people here, and then we need to charge them fines. We've got a plan to do that. Yeah. 5 million people probably under Biden's open border will need to go. Wow. But a lot have been here a long time. We need to provide worker registration for it, not citizenship, but worker registration, and they can actually start contributing financially to our country. Right. And we can close the darn border.
Wow. That's incredible.
I mean, like if you and I sit there and try to figure out a plan, we could probably figure it out with us and two others. But Congress, there's too many people with too many other motives at stake. Right. So we've got to start transcending motives and going, what's best for America?
What's the biggest thing that you've learned, or the biggest aha moment? I mean, I know you just all of a sudden jump out there and there's all these different, there's, the absentee voting and the taxes and the deficits and all the, I don't say lies or anything, but I mean, you're obviously a Christian man. And,
it's correct.
Yeah. Well, what's the biggest thing? Is there anything in particular that you'd like to share?
I think there's just a lot. First of all, the Republican Party is really broken. It's broken in this way. Most of the Republican Party is looking at President Trump, and I empathize with him in this way, that we are very close to a banana republic. 91 charges against the Republican leader right now, trying to keep him from running for office, trying to keep him off ballots. So a lot of people I've talked to, even Republicans and MAGA Republicans, are like, Ryan, listen, I like your message. Unity, strong, fiscal. I'm farther right than President Trump is on fiscal conservatism. He hasn't talked about balancing the budget. So, no offense, but he doesn't really talk about that. Mm-hmm. And so, I agree with him a lot of things. Again, I supported him and would help him in any way. But at the end of the day, there is injustice happening against him right now. And I would fight for him. And I would pray, and I'm praying for him, because when you got 91 charges against you in election year, it's not because there's 91 real charges there. I tell people, if you and I are going to go bull elephant hunting, we don't bring our BB gun or a shotgun, with 91 pellets at them. You better bring something. If you're going to take down a bull elephant, you better bring something strong. And they don't have anything strong, so they shot him with 91 BBs. Mm-hmm. This is not right. And so I see that, and I set that aside, and I go, I empathize with that. But I also want to tell America this: but we still have a problem. I still got kids that can't afford college. Now I'm not talking about just my kids. I mean, in America, why does it cost $50,000-$60,000 a year to go to college? Why is that 4 times higher than inflation over the last 40 years? Why is health insurance so high? Why is it cost rent to keep going up? Mortgages are twice as much. People cannot. When I was 27, I could buy a home, and by the way, the home was $110,000. Mm-hmm. That same home today would be $400,000, but the incomes would only be about 50 to 60% more, maybe 100% more, not 400% more. So incomes aren't keeping up with this, and so there's this wealth gap that's happening. And I'm telling America that while this is happening with President Trump, this other thing is happening. And I'm empathizing and praying for him, but at the same time, I'm speaking to this core issues of we have a generation coming behind you and me that is not going to have the future you're going to have unless we do something about it now.
Right.
And we don't have 4 years to do it.
Right. No, I agree. It's going to be tough. It's a tough election. I would agree. It's probably really tough to have to be in your shoes because you want to be passionate but you know what? Is that the right thing to do? Well, that gets you elected. I mean, that's the hardest thing. It's like Brian Sullivan, I was listening to him and he said, I don't even want to vote this year. He said, I've voted every year, yada, yada. And he said, with Trump and Biden, he said, I don't even want to vote this year, and that's bad. I mean, when you have somebody that's as strong as he is and on so many different programs, CNBC, but I don't want to vote. And I can see what he's talking about, because it's like, I mean, how do you weigh the options? It's kind of hard. And for somebody that is new like you, and you don't have the Trump money. I mean, Trump asks me for money 15 times a day, and so does Nikki Haley, who'll be here Thursday.
Well, I'm asking money for today, so
yeah. Absolutely.
And anybody out here with this help.
But you don't have the big backers that these guys do. But if you did, man, I think that would be so awesome to have so many more messages out there. And not because you're a businessman, you're a great husband, and a father, but you also have that message that just it's in the heart of everybody. Everybody says, "Oh my goodness, this guy can really change things."
Jay, I think God wants to change things.
Yeah.
The reason I'm in this is because God put it in my heart. I mean, He gave me so many messages that if America can start looking after the least in society, He'll start looking after us.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what we want is God shining on our nation again. And, in the Bible, whenever Israel in the Old Testament, whenever there was a war, a famine, or a plague, usually that was God's judgment and pulling back because they left the Lord. Now, we've been involved in a plague, first one in my lifetime that I can really remember. We've got war going on right now, which we've had almost every single year in the history of our country. I mean, give or take 20 years almost. We've been at war at some level. We have famine. It's just food shortage. Famine is 11% of America goes home hungry every night. So we've got these things going on, but yet when nobody's looking up to God yet. When 9/11 hit, churches were pretty full. Remember that day?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because something happened that we weren't ready for, we weren't prepared for, we didn't know how to respond to, so we started looking up to God. When COVID hit, we shut the churches down. Nobody was really looking up to God going, God, what happened? Have we left you? It was more, let's blame China. And I'm not saying we shouldn't blame China. What I'm saying is we should look to God. And I think if we look to God, He'd start saying this, look after the widow, the orphan, the poor, the stranger at the gate. This is who God pays attention to in Scripture. And I think we've gotten a little bit away from that. We've been so focused on our division, on how we hate the other party, that we forget to kind of, let's keep an eye on what God's looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Remember where Jesus would be. I mean, He was by with a woman at the well, or he'd be hanging out with the people in the restaurant that were the outcasts of society. I think we got to just start paying attention to this, and we'll get God's attention. And, that's why I'm calling for not another government program. I'm calling for a volunteer movement with college students going, hey, I'm asking college students all over, hey, listen, you hate politics. You want to change the culture of our country? I said, 1 out of 6 minorities in urban America, particularly Black children, are reading at the 8th grade level. 1 out of 6. That's about 15%. Now, regardless of race, Jay, it's only about 40% in the suburbs all over. Did you know that? That's how bad American education has gotten. I'm going to South Carolina tomorrow. The average teacher in South Carolina makes $33,000 a year.
Wow.
Now, how is a teacher supposed to live off that? And we're supposed to attract great talent to teach our kids.
Yeah.
We need to, we have to start looking holistic.
We're spending so much money on health.
That's a state issue. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying, what I'm saying is we have to start thinking about everything we're doing and focusing on the least. I think God's going to shine on us and give us the wisdom, the leaders to arise. What I'm seeing is a leadership movement in the next 10 or 20 years where statesmen and women are going to have to rise up to put country first, real issues first, wisdom in the economy, focus on how we can truly help. Because I'm asking college students, would you do this? Would you donate 3 hours a week to mentor a third grader on how to read?
Wow.
You want to change America? Give me 2 or 3 hours a week.
Right.
How many would you do that? And I get hands up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If we did that, Jay, we could change the world.
Wow.
Because we would be teaching these young people not just how to change one life, it would change theirs as well.
Yeah.
And so a lot of kids are doing this all over, but what if we did it everywhere?
Yeah.
I think we could change our country. Number one way to bring jobs back long-term, create brilliant kids that want to work.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a long-term vision, but a cultural revival, spiritual revival, and economic revival, that's the message in my heart.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, I've really enjoyed this. You're one of my favorite people, no question about it. I mean, just your heart, your passion for not only, for your family, but for your business and church, but also to get your message out. Because, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, if we all lay down today, which God said we will, but at that time, we got to think about what are we known for. And I believe, and you can answer this question, but what's the most important thing for you? What's your legacy? What is the most important thing when at the end of yours? What would you say? Hey, I want people to know that what?
Wow. I think if we do anything, we've got to leave this world going, listen, I cared for my neighbor. And then who is my neighbor? Jesus always said it was this way. It was the person who was the outcast. It was that, guy by the side of the road. And I think if I could live my life that way, there's probably a lot I need to do to be known that way. But I think that's the way I'd want to say, hey, he put a heart for the most hurting and he lived his life that way and tried to create leadership moments in our country to where we saw everybody, where the unseen were seen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think if I could live my life to where I saw more people that are known, that feel unseen, then I think I'd make a difference that I'd want to make.
God, you're definitely making a difference. I don't know how much time you get away from just all the different things that you have your life in right now, but it's just so incredible that all the things that you do and the message that you get out in the lives that you're changing, man, it's just heart filling, and it's something that I mean, there's not many people in this world that would do something like that. And not ask for anything back.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're asking for some contributions.
Yeah, we do. We need help
but
because
still,
we haven't been able to afford to do a nationwide campaign. The Republican Party's tried to nationalize the campaigns. We missed the first debate, Jay, by like 5 people in a poll. We would have been there any other election.
Wow.
So they tried to narrow the field quickly. I think to get one candidate to go up against Trump, which they now have a major candidate against Trump, which I think was the wrong message. They should have let messages be heard. And so they didn't really welcome my message, but we felt led to state it anyway and keep shouting. But I think the answer to what you said, though, I think everybody wants to make a difference. Sometimes we look at the problem and how big it is, and we go like, wow, it's so big.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the message that the Lord put on our heart too, was just, and this is an old Hebrew teaching, actually. Do for one what you'd want to do for all. And change one life, you can change the world.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes back, if you remember God, I'm going to mess up the movie. I'm gonna mess up the movie now. It'll come to me probably when we hang up here. But it's an old movie about the Holocaust, and the Jews there during the Holocaust gave the leader that was helping them a ring, and it had that inscripted in the ring.
Mm.
And it was about really just changing one life. That he focused on one life at a time.
Right.
That he was saving from being, a life being killed. And I think if we just saw one person, we just did for one.
Right.
Like if you and I just next year, just one person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's enough.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
And what if we all just found one person? And we can do that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been an absolute pleasure. And one of my favorite guests, I mean, man, you've just been really great, inspirational to me. And I'm sure to all the people out there as well. What did you think about it? I mean, everybody just write in and tell us what you think about the soon to be, could be, should, could, what, Mr. President. Have you thought about that? Ellie calling you Mr. President? Have you already said you need to start calling me Mr. President yet? Or?
No, that doesn't work just yet.
But anyway, just a credible guy and just a great message, and to put yourself out. I mean, put yourself out there is number one. I mean, man, but to have a great message and just to say, hey, man, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. And just to put it out there, man, is unbelievable, and great job. And
thank you,
man, you're just an awesome guy. And I've always appreciated our friendship, and look forward to staying in touch. And
absolutely
can't wait to see what happens, man.
Well, thank you, and pray
Love
for
to
us.
see it.
Thank you. Pray for us. We're going to South Carolina, and I'm going up against 2 giants there, and we'll see. We're going to share a message. But if anybody wants to learn more, they can go to Binkley2024.com. and learn about the healthcare plan, how to balance the budget, how to change education, especially urban America, how the Republican Party can reach urban America. I think it's important if we want to win. You know, we only won 46% of the vote in the last 2 elections.
Wow.
So we better start growing the party.
Yeah.
We got to do more than just get out and vote because we're outnumbered today. So we better, and then how to truly have a comprehensive border plan that's unique. And so we've got that out there in details if everybody wants to see it. Of course, if you pray about giving, if anybody would pray about that, we appreciate that.
Yeah. Just go on I'm sure on the
Binkley
the website, Binkley2024.com.
All the information's there.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
Thank you
coming in, and I can't wait to see how things go and progress. And I know, man, there's just so many people that love hearing your message.
Thank you. And,
right. Keep it going. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Tell us what you think. Man, it's awesome. Love this guy, and can't wait to see what happens. And even if he doesn't win, hey, he's going to be around, and he's going to keep giving us message. He's got it on his heart. So thank you very much for paying attention, and let's wait for the next Jay Young show. Thank you so much, and talk again soon.